Hey guys, tonight we're going to cross a river the slow way, the calm way. Not with roaring engines or bright floodlights, but with rope, wood, and careful footsteps. If you like cozy survival history and gentle everyday engineering, subscribe and let's drift into the quiet world of quiet rope bridges. A rope bridge sounds dramatic. People imagine swaying planks, high cliffs, and hero moments. But in real life, most rope bridges were not built for drama. They were built for routine. To get to fields, to reach neighbors, to carry salt, grain, wool, and wood, to bring someone home before night falls. And the greatest skill wasn't bravery. It was calm design, the kind that makes a crossing feel ordinary. Why rope bridges existed at all? In many places, building a stone bridge was too expensive, too slow, or simply impossible with the local materials and weather. Rivers changed, floods tore things away, valleys were steep, timber rotted. Communities needed something lighter and repairable. Rope bridges offered three quiet advantages. They used materials you could carry and replace: rope, fiber, and wood. They could be repaired section by section. They could be rebuilt after floods without starting from zero. A rope bridge is a bridge that expects the world to be rough and adapts anyway. The materials: rope, fiber, and local ingenuity. Rope could mean many things: twisted plant fibers, braided bark strips, rawhide thongs, hemp or flax rope where trade allowed. Later, stronger manufactured ropes. The bridge builders didn't need perfect materials, they needed dependable ones. Fibers that held when wet, knots that didn't creep, anchor points that didn't shift. The wooden parts might be planks, poles, woven mats, simple slats spaced for drainage. Nothing fancy. The point is not comfort, the point is crossing. Anchors, the true heart of a rope bridge. A bridge fails if its anchors fail. So communities anchored ropes to large boulders, buried logs, deadman anchors, thick living trees, stone pillars or carved posts, rock bolts or holes carved into cliff faces. The anchors were often tested quietly. Pull, tighten, listen, adjust. Builders learned what solid feels like through hands and sound. A good anchor doesn't creak, it doesn't shift, it just holds. Handrails and foot ropes, making fear smaller. Many rope bridges used multiple ropes, one or two main ropes to carry weight, side ropes as handrails, sometimes a lower rope for stability, sometimes netting to reduce falls. The goal is not to eliminate sway completely. Rope bridges often move. The goal is to keep movement predictable and to give the body something to trust. A handrail rope changes everything. It turns crossing from a balancing act into a guided walk. Your hands steady you. Your eyes relax. Your steps become quieter. Quiet crossing, the sleepy part, the quiet in quiet rope bridges. People learns that a rope bridge rewards calm. Step in rhythm. Don't stomp. Don't rush. Keep weight centered. Don't bounce the ropes. Let others cross one at a time if needed. This isn't just etiquette, it's safety physics. A rushing person makes the bridge swing. A calm person lets it settle. A calm crossing keeps everyone safer, including animals and loads. Loads. Carrying without making the bridge angry. Many crossings weren't just people. They were baskets, sacks, wood bundles, water jars, tools. So loads were managed carefully. Balanced across the body, kept low, not swinging, tied tight with rope, sometimes sent across by pulley or line instead of carried. If a load swings, it pulls the bridge sideways. If the load is tight, it behaves like part of you. Old travelers learned to pack bridge-friendly loads. A sleepy ending scene.
Now imagine the scene that will carry you towards sleep. It's early morning or late afternoon. The air is cool. A narrow river runs below, not roaring, just moving. A rope bridge stretches between two banks. It isn't pretty, but it's cared for. The ropes are tight, the knots are checked, the planks are worn smooth by years of careful footsteps. One person steps onto it. Hands slide along the rail rope. The bridge sways gently, like a slow breath. The person does not fight the sway, they match it. Step, pause, step. Quiet feet, quiet hands, quiet mind. Halfway across, the water sound becomes softer. The world feels steady again. On the far side, the person steps on solid ground and looks back only briefly, then continues. No drama. Just a safe crossing completed. And you can borrow that tonight. Let your thoughts be the river. Let your breath be the rail rope. Hold it gently. Step slowly. Cross from day into night. We'll continue from here.
A rope bridge is only as trustworthy as its fibers. Not on the day it's built, when everything is new and tight, but on the 100th day, when rain has soaked the strands, sun has weakened them, grit has rubbed them, and repeated footsteps have taught the rope exactly where it hurts. So tonight we'll step away from the span itself and focus on the quiet maintenance that kept rope bridges alive. Rope care, drying, protecting, reducing chafe, and replacing before failure. It's not dramatic work. It's gentle, ongoing attention, the kind that makes a bridge feel ordinary. Water, the slow rot partner. Moisture is the first long-term enemy of rope. Wet fiber can swell and loosen knots, encourage rot in plant materials, hold grit that saws fibers from the inside, stay damp in shaded valleys for days. So builders tried to keep critical rope sections from staying wet forever. They did it with simple strategies. Placing anchor points where air can circulate, avoiding rope contact with constantly wet rock faces, raising ropes away from splash zones, choosing crossing points with less spray and mist. In other words, they didn't only build a bridge, they built a bridge that could dry. Sun, the quiet weakener. Sun can dry rope, but it can also degrade fibers over time. In exposed areas, sun-baked rope can become brittle. So in some landscapes, people preferred partial shade from trees, rope routing that avoids direct midday sun, protective wrappings on exposed sections. They were balancing two slow problems, damp rot and sun brittleness. Chafe, the real hidden killer. Most rope bridges don't fail because the whole rope becomes weak evenly. They fail at one chafe point. A rope rubbing over a sharp edge, stone, wood corner, metal, gradually loses strands. At first, it's invisible. Then fuzz appears. Then a thin section forms. Then the rope snaps under a load that would have been fine elsewhere. So the calm rope care culture focused on chafe prevention, smoothing wooden edges where rope passes, carving rope channels in rock so the rope sits in a rounded groove, adding padding, bark, cloth, leather, plant fiber wraps, wrapping rope with sacrificial binding at high wear zones. A sacrificial wrap is a beautiful idea. You let a cheap layer take the damage so the valuable rope stays strong. Greasing and oiling where it made sense. Some communities treated rope with oils or fats when available, especially to reduce water absorption and reduce stiffness. This depended heavily on local materials and traditions. It might be animal fat, plant oils, waxy substances, resin-based coatings in some contexts. Oiling can help repel water, but it can also attract grit. So rope care is always a compromise. Protect from moisture while avoiding abrasive dirt. In practice, the best strategy is often clean and dry first, then treat lightly and keep the rope away from dusty grinding contact. Drying ropes: air, time, and routine. You can't always take the whole bridge down to dry it, but you can dry sections during maintenance. For example, loosening a rail rope and hanging it to air for a short time, replacing one segment while the old segment dries and is inspected. Rotating rope use. The strongest rope becomes the main line, older rope becomes secondary rail. In small communities, rope is valuable. People extend its life by moving it into less critical roles as it ages. That's another quiet kind of thrift. Nothing wasted, only reassigned. Inspection. Touch, twist, and listen. Rope inspection often uses hands more than eyes. A practiced inspector might run fingers along strands to feel thinning, twist the rope slightly to see hidden breaks, press to feel soft rot inside, sniff for musty, decaying smell in plant fibers, listen for unusual creaks when rope is tensioned. This sensory inspection is calm and very human. It doesn't require instruments, only attention. Replacement. The quiet courage of good enough. Replacing rope is labor. It can be expensive, but waiting too long is worse. So rope bridge culture often valued a quiet courage, replacing before disaster, even if the rope still seems fine. This is the kind of decision wise communities make. If it's questionable, we change it. We don't gamble with the crossing. A sleep lesson. Protect your load-bearing fibers. Now, borrow the metaphor. You have load-bearing fibers too. Your sleep, your routine, your patience, your body's basic energy. If those fibers stay wet with stress, rubbed by constant friction, and never allowed to dry, they fray. So tonight, give them rope care. Reduce chafe, less scrolling, less arguing with thoughts. Dry out, quiet, stillness, breath. Protect, a routine, dim light, warm blanket. Replace before break. Rest before burnout. That is not weakness. That is maintenance. A sleepy ending scene. Picture a calm afternoon by the river. The bridge is empty. Two people stand at an anchor post. They lift a section of rope and examine it with practiced hands. One wraps a high wear area with bark padding and tight binding. The other smooths a wooden edge where rope passes. The work is quiet. The river keeps moving. Birds call once, then stop. When they finish, the rope looks almost the same as before, but it is safer, stronger, better protected. That's the best kind of repair, the kind that doesn't demand attention afterwards. And tonight, you can do the same for yourself. Wrap the chafe points. Let the fibers dry. Protect what holds you. Then cross into sleep, quiet, steady, and safe.
Sometimes you don't get to choose perfect conditions. A child is sick across the river. A storm is coming and animals must be moved. A message needs to reach someone before dawn. A boat is waiting. A tide is changing. A winter day has ended too quickly, and the last safe crossing is now. So, sometimes people crossed rope bridges at night, not as adventure, as necessity. Tonight, we'll walk through that night crossing, slowly and safely, lantern light held low, hands on the rail, feet trusting memory, and communities using quiet habits to make darkness less dangerous. Night changes the bridge's psychology. In daylight, you can see the deck, the ropes, the landings. At night, your mind fills in blanks. The bridge can feel larger, higher, and more threatening simply because the edges disappear. So the first night crossing skill isn't physical, it's mental. Don't let imagination outrun your hands. Night crossing relies more on touch, rhythm, and small focus. Lantern light, low and steady. A lantern is best carried low during a crossing. Low light does 3 calming things. It illuminates the next slat, not the whole abyss. It reduces glare and preserves night vision. It keeps your attention local, step by step. A lantern held too high can blind you with its own brightness and make the world beyond seem even darker. Low lantern light paints the deck with a warm oval of safety. Foot memory, the bridge you've crossed before. In many communities, rope bridges were crossed daily. That repetition creates foot memory, a learned sense of slat spacing, rail height, sway rhythm. So at night, experienced travelers don't find every step, they remember it through their body. This is why night crossings were often done by those who knew the bridge well. Familiarity becomes safety. Hand on the rail, the second sight. In darkness, your hand becomes your eyes. A hand sliding along the rail rope gives continuous orientation, early warning if tension feels wrong, reassurance during sway, a steady reference line when the deck moves. Night travelers often kept one hand on the rail at all times. If they had to carry something, they carried it tight and kept fingers free. The pause habit. At night, pausing is not indecision, it's calibration. You step onto the bridge, then pause. You let sway settle. You listen. Rope vibration, anchor creak, deck shift. You watch the lantern light dance on wood. Then you move again. This turns the crossing into a sequence of safe moments, not one long, fearful event. Quiet etiquette gets stricter at night. Night crossing usually means one person at a time, no running, no shouting, no playful bouncing, no crowded approaches. If a helper waits, they wait on solid ground with a lantern, keeping the entry visible. The bridge is treated like a living thing that doesn't like sudden surprises. The return light on the far bank. Many bridges had known landmarks or simple hooks, a post you can feel by hand, a rope knot marker near the end, a lantern hook where you can hang light to free both hands, a flat landing board that signals you're safe now. These cues are important because the most awkward step in darkness is often the last one, transitioning from swaying deck to fixed berth. A good landing feels like relief. A sleep lesson, step-by-step attention. Night crossings teach the same thing sleep teaches. You don't need to see the whole night. You only need to manage the next step. If your mind is dark tonight, don't try to light the entire future. Hold a lantern low, your breath, and focus on the next small thing. Exhale, soften shoulders, sink into the pillow. Let the next thought pass. That's enough. A sleepy ending scene. Imagine a quiet valley night. The river below is a dark ribbon. Trees stand like silhouettes. The rope bridge is almost invisible except for the warm lantern glow that moves slowly across its slats. A person steps on, hand on the rail, lantern low, soft knees, quiet breath. Step, pause, step. The bridge sways, but it is familiar. The lantern light paints each slat like a small promise. The person reaches the far bank, touches the anchor post, and steps on to solid ground. They turn the lantern slightly, not to dramatize the crossing, just to check the path ahead, then continue. Behind them, the bridge returns to darkness, calm and still. And tonight, you can take that calm with you. You don't need bright courage, you need quiet courage. A handrail, a lantern low, one step at a time. Then you can cross gently into sleep.
Not every safe crossing is a crossing. Sometimes the safest rope bridge skill is the quiet decision to stop, to look at the weather, listen to the river, feel the wind, and choose to wait. Because rope bridges are flexible, and flexibility has limits. A storm can turn gentle sway into dangerous swing. Rain can soften anchor soil. Floodwater can throw debris into ropes. Gusts can push a narrow deck sideways. Ice can remove friction. And in those moments, bravery is not useful. Judgment is useful. Tonight, we'll explore storm protocol. How communities decided when to close a rope bridge, how they signaled that closure, and how waiting became part of survival culture. Calm, ordinary, accepted. Reading the no signs. Storm protocol starts long before the first step. People learn to notice simple signs that the bridge should rest. Handrail ropes humming or vibrating in strong wind, deck slats visibly bouncing or twisting, anchor posts creaking or shifting, river sound rising from steady hush to hard roar, debris moving fast, branches, logs, foam lines, bank soil becoming soft and sliding underfoot, mist or rain so dense that landings can't be seen clearly. These signs aren't dramatic individually, but together they say something clear: not now. Closing the bridge without confusion. A bridge closure must be obvious. In low light and bad weather, confusion is dangerous. So communities used simple closure markers: a rope tied across the entrance, a gate bar set at the first steps, a bundle of branches placed at the approach, cloth strips or flags tied in a known closed pattern, lantern or reflective marker removed, absence as a signal. The goal is to prevent someone, especially a tired traveler, from stepping onto the bridge just to see. One person decides, everyone respects. In many places, someone became the informal bridge keeper, often whoever lived closest or whoever maintained it most. They had the authority to say, "Close it," and the community respected that because a bridge is shared risk. If someone falls, others must rescue. If the bridge breaks, everyone loses the crossing. So storm protocol is social cooperation. One calm decision reduces everyone's danger. Waiting skills, what people did instead. When the bridge is closed, life still continues. People simply shift. They might take a longer route upriver to a calmer ford, postpone the errand until morning, send a message instead of going in person, stay with a neighbor on the wrong side temporarily, use stored supplies and wait out the weather. This is where preparation becomes comfort. A household with stored food, dry tinder, and warm bedding can wait calmly. A household with nothing feels pressure to risk crossing. So storm protocol connects to all other survival routines: storage, planning, and patience. After the storm, inspection before reopening. The bridge doesn't automatically reopen when rain stops. It reopens after a check. After storms, people inspected anchor zones for erosion, rope tension changes, chafe points from wind vibration, slats for loosened lashings, landing paths for mud collapse. Sometimes they cleared debris from ropes. Sometimes they retightened handrails. Sometimes they replaced one or two slats that took damage. Only then did the bridge return to ordinary. A sleep lesson: closure is not failure. This is one of the best bedtime lessons of rope bridges. Closing the bridge is not quitting, it is wisdom. If your mind feels stormy tonight, windy thoughts, rushing worries, slippery emotions, the safest move might be to stop crossing. Don't force yourself to solve everything now. Close the bridge. Write a note for tomorrow. Turn the lights down. Put the phone away. Take 3 slow breaths. Let the night pass. Waiting is not weakness. Waiting is maintenance. A sleepy ending scene. Picture a storm evening. Wind pushes through the valley. Rain taps hard on leaves. The rope bridge sways more than usual, and the river below sounds louder, busy, hungry, impatient. A person walks to the approach, looks once, and chooses calm judgment. They tie a rope across the entry and set a simple barrier. A cloth marker flutters in the wind.
closed. They turn back without drama. The errand can wait. Inside the house, the hearth is warm. A kettle steams. The world outside can rage. The home stays quiet. And tonight, you can do the same. If your thoughts are storming, close the bridge. Choose waiting. Let sleep be the shelter.
Winter changes a rope bridge's personality. In summer, the bridge is mostly about sway and balance. In winter, it becomes about surface, about what happens when wood turns slick, when ropes stiffen, when frost makes everything feel sharper, and when a simple step can become an unexpected slide. But villages that relied on rope bridges didn't stop using them just because the air turned cold. Instead, they added quiet winter habits, small preparations that made crossings safer without turning them into drama. Tonight, we'll drift through those habits, how people kept footing calm, how they marked safer steps, how they treated ropes kindly in freezing weather, and how they crossed in a way that felt slow, ordinary, and controlled. Frost on slats, when the deck turns to glass. A light frost can make wooden slats feel like polished stone. It doesn't look dangerous at first. It looks pretty. White edges, soft sparkle, quiet cold. But it changes friction. So winter crossings begin with a slower approach. You test the first slat with your toe. You keep your weight centered. You place your foot flat, not on an edge. You avoid sudden shifts. Winter teaches a calm truth. A bridge is crossed not by force, but by placement. Quiet grip tricks, grit, ash, and rough texture. People had simple ways to add grip without modern materials. They used what they had: sand or fine gravel sprinkled lightly on the deck, ash from the hearth, dry ash gives traction, crushed plant fibers or chaff in some places, rough mats laid temporarily over the slickest section. This is the same logic you see on icy steps. You don't argue with ice, you change the surface. And it's wonderfully ordinary. A small handful of grit can transform the feeling of crossing from tense to manageable. Shoes, soles, and the winter step. Footwear mattered. Soft soles can slip, hard soles can slide. Some people used wraps, cords, or crude traction patterns. Some had shoes with roughened bottoms. Others simply slowed down and used the handrail rope as their main safety system. In winter, the bridge isn't a place for fancy speed. It's a place for the quiet step. Step, pause, let it settle. Step. You can almost hear the wood creak softly under frost, and the rope answer back with a steady pull. Ropes in cold weather. Stiffness and surprise. Rope changes in cold. Some fibers stiffen, some become less forgiving. Knots that were easy in warm weather can become stubborn. A rope bridge may sway differently when the whole system is less elastic. So winter maintenance often includes checking rail height and tension more often, watching for chafe points made worse by stiff movement, replacing worn lashings before deep cold sets in, and avoiding abrupt retightening that stresses frozen fibers. It's the same mindset as winter driving. Smooth corrections are safer than sharp ones. Snow load, weight that arrives quietly. Snow can pile on slats. It can hide gaps. It can add weight to ropes. A little snow isn't always bad. Sometimes it adds friction. But wet snow can become heavy, and weight changes sag. So communities did simple snow habits:
brushing the deck after storms, clearing the landing areas first where slips are most common, keeping the approach path packed and stable, and sometimes closing the bridge briefly during dangerous conditions. Closing a bridge is also a kind of calm. It's a community saying, "Not tonight, we'll cross when it's safer." Markers, when white world erases edges. In heavy snow, edges disappear, landings blur into banks, depth is hard to read, so people used markers, upright sticks or poles at the ends, strips of cloth tied to posts, simple knot markers on rail ropes, a lantern hook or a reflective pale board near the entry. Markers reduce confusion. Confusion causes rush. Rush causes slips. This is true on bridges and in mines. Clear markers calm the body. The one-at-a-time rule gets stronger in winter. If you have two people crossing in winter and one slips, the instinct to rush forward can make the whole bridge wobble. The safest winter bridges often enforce quiet spacing. One person crosses, others wait, the bridge settles, then the next crosses. It's not impatience, it's respect for physics, for weather, for life. A sleep lesson. Winter rope bridge crossing teaches soft attention. Don't rush, don't stomp, test your footing, hold the rail, keep your load quiet, pause when needed. That's also how you move into sleep. If your thoughts feel icy tonight, slippery, hard to grip, don't sprint across them. Hold one steady handrail, your breath. Place attention gently. Pause when you need to. Let the mind settle instead of forcing it. A sleepy ending scene. Picture a winter twilight. The river below is dark and slow. Snow dusts the slats of the rope bridge. A small lantern glows near the bank, just enough to show the first steps. A person approaches carefully. They sprinkle a little grit, just a small pinch, over the first few slats. They test the deck with a toe. Then they step on. The bridge sways lightly. The hand finds the rope rail. The knees stay soft. The footsteps are quiet, respectful. Halfway across, they pause for one breath. The bridge settles like an animal calming under a gentle hand. Then they continue, reaching the far bank without hurry. Behind them, the bridge remains, safe, tended, ready. And tonight, you can do the same. Not a bold leap into sleep, a quiet crossing, step by step, hand on the rail, breath steady, day fading gently behind you. A rope bridge feels one way when you cross with empty hands, and a very different way when you cross with something that swings. A basket, a bundle of wood, 2 water jars, a sack of grain, tools wrapped in cloth, a small child held close, a fishing net damp and heavy. Most rope bridges were not built for dramatic solo crossings. They were built for work, and work means loads. So tonight, we'll explore the calm load culture that made rope bridge crossings safe and ordinary. How people packed, how they balanced, how they reduced swinging, and how simple habits turned fear into routine. The big rule: don't let the load become a pendulum. On a rope bridge, swinging is the enemy. If your load swings, it pulls your body off center. Then you correct. Then the bridge sways. Then the correction becomes bigger. The whole system amplifies. So, experienced travelers did everything they could to keep the load quiet. Quiet loads make quiet crossings. Tight to the body, the comfort of close weight. The safest load is one that behaves like part of you. That means packs tied snug to the back, baskets held close to the chest or hip, straps tightened so nothing flops, cloth wraps around loose items. A loose bundle makes noise and motion. A tight bundle becomes stable. People often used simple cords to bind a load into a single shape before crossing. The crossing itself became a reason to pack carefully. Balanced left and right. If weight is uneven, the bridge becomes harder. Your body leans to compensate, and leaning feels risky when the bridge already sways. So many cultures used balancing tools: a shoulder yoke with 2 equal baskets, 2 water jars carried evenly, pack arranged so weight sits centered, bundles split into 2 smaller loads rather than 1 lopsided load. Balance is not only comfort, it is safety. The pole trick, extending your balance. Some travelers carried a pole, not as a weapon, but as a balancing tool. A long pole does 2 calming things. It widens your balance footprint, and it gives you a gentle third contact point if needed. Even if you don't touch the pole to the bridge often, holding it helps your nervous system feel steadier, like walking a narrow path with arms extended. In windy conditions, a pole can also act like a wind gauge, helping you feel gusts before they surprise you. Lowering the center of gravity. People naturally learned that a slightly lower posture feels steadier on moving surfaces. Not a crouch, not awkward, just soft knees, shoulders relaxed, weight centered over the feet. This posture absorbs sway and prevents sudden top-heavy wobbles, especially when carrying something. One at a time, especially with heavy loads. Load etiquette often included spacing rules. Let the heavy carrier cross alone. Wait for the bridge to settle. Don't step on right behind them. Don't create competing rhythms. This makes the bridge predictable again. In some places, heavy loads were moved during calmer weather windows, early morning, low wind, better footing. Rope bridge life often has a quiet schedule. When loads were too heavy, lines and pulleys. Sometimes the best way to cross a heavy load is not to carry it. Some communities used a simple rope line or pulley system. Tie the load to a line, pull it across while it slides or hangs, keep people separate from the moving weight. This reduces risk and preserves the bridge. Even without true pulleys, a rope line can help ferry bundles, especially if the bridge is narrow and the load is awkward. A sleep lesson. Keep your worries close, not swinging. Here's the gentle bedtime meaning. If your worries are swinging, jumping from thought to thought, they pull your mind off balance. You correct, then you wobble again. So tonight, make your mental load quiet. Gather loose thoughts into one gentle list. Tie them into a single shape and put them down for the night. Keep only one small thing close, your breath. When the load is quiet, crossing becomes easier. A sleepy ending scene. Picture a calm morning. The rope bridge is damp but stable. Mist hangs low over the river. A person approaches with 2 balanced baskets on a shoulder yoke. The baskets are tied tight so nothing swings. They step onto the bridge. One hand rests on the rail rope. The other steadies the yoke with calm touch. Step, pause, step. The bridge sways gently, but the load stays quiet. The person moves like someone who has done this many times. No hurry, no drama. Halfway across, they stop for one breath, letting sway settle. Then they continue, reaching the far bank without incident. That's the mood you can borrow tonight. Quiet load, soft knees, a steady handrail, your breath. Then you cross into sleep. A rope bridge is not a monument. It's not meant to stand unchanged for centuries the way stone arches sometimes do. A rope bridge is closer to a living thing. It stretches, it relaxes, it weathers, it frays, it shifts with seasons. And because it's made of fibers and lashings, it survives not by refusing change, but by being repaired, quietly, continuously, in small pieces. Tonight, we'll rest inside that repair culture, the calm habit of noticing small wear before it becomes big failure, and the gentle routines that kept rope bridges safe year after year. Why rope bridges need small maintenance. Fibers are honest. They show you when they're tired. Fraying strands appear. Knots loosen slightly. Wood slats warp and twist. Rails sag. Anchors settle after rain. If you ignore these signs, the bridge becomes dangerous. If you respond early, the work stays easy. So communities learned, never wait for dramatic failure. Fix the small thing while it's still small. The daily inspection walk. In some places, the first person crossing in the morning becomes the first inspector. They watch and feel. Does the rail rope feel looser than yesterday? Does one slat tilt more than before? Does a knot look wrong or sit differently? Does the bridge sway in an unfamiliar way? This isn't formal, it's instinct built by repetition. It's the same way you notice a loose stair at home. And because many people cross daily, many eyes are checking daily. Replacing one slat instead of rebuilding everything. One of the quiet strengths of rope bridges is modular repair. If one slat is rotten, remove it, replace it, relash it, done. No need to rebuild the span. No need to wait for a big project. A rope bridge invites small repairs the way a woven basket invites reweaving. This keeps the crossing usable even during busy seasons when nobody has time for major building. Retightening without over-tightening. Ropes stretch over time. Weather changes tension too. Wet rope can swell, dry rope can shrink, and temperature can affect stiffness. So bridges are retightened periodically. But there's a calm rule: don't over-tighten. Over-tightening can stress anchors, weaken knots, pull posts out of alignment, make the bridge more vulnerable to sudden shock loads. So repair culture values just enough tension to reduce sag and twist, not so much that the system becomes brittle. The quiet art of splicing and patching. When a rope begins to fray, you don't always replace the whole length immediately. Sometimes you patch. People used splices, weaving rope ends together, protective wraps around high wear points, extra bindings where rope rubs against wood, padding with bark or cloth at chafe spots. This extends life and buys time. It turns emergency into routine. Chafe protection is especially important. Many rope failures start not from a single big load, but from slow rubbing in one spot day after day. Weather repairs after storms and floods. Certain repairs belong to certain seasons. After heavy rain, check anchors for soil movement. Check deadman anchor zones for settling. Check rope channels where mud could rub fibers. After windstorms, check rail tension. Check knots that may have shifted under vibration. After floods, check for debris impacts. Check bank erosion near anchor points. Check whether the span has changed height or angle. These checks become part of the community calendar, like checking roofs before winter or clearing gutters before storms. ownership without ownership. Many rope bridges were community property in practice, even if someone managed them. The repair culture often worked like this. One person notices a problem, someone else brings rope, another brings wood, repairs happen in an afternoon, everyone benefits. It's infrastructure as neighborliness, a shared responsibility that stays light because it's shared. A sleep lesson. Small repairs prevent big panic. This is a lovely bedtime lesson. Your mind is like a rope bridge. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs small care. If you notice a fray, stress, worry, tension, fix it early. Drink water. Breathe slowly. Write one line of a worry and set it down. Stretch shoulders. Dim lights. Stop scrolling. Close the day gently. Small repairs prevent big breaks. A sleepy ending scene. Imagine a quiet afternoon. The bridge is empty for a moment. Two people stand at the near anchor post. They don't look rushed. They look familiar with the work. One replaces a single warped slat, tying it down with fresh lashing. The other wraps a high-wear rope section with protective binding where it rubs against a wooden edge. They pull the handrail rope gently and retie a knot. The bridge tightens slightly. The sway becomes calmer. Then they step back and admire nothing, because this isn't art, it's care. The bridge is ready again. Ordinary life continues. And tonight, you can do the same. Make one small repair in your evening. Retie one loose knot in your thoughts. Replace one warped slat with a calmer breath. Then cross quietly into sleep.
A rope bridge becomes truly usable not when it looks strong, but when it feels forgiving. Because people don't cross perfectly every time. They carry awkward loads. They walk in wet shoes. They cross in fog. Children wobble. Elders move slowly. Animals hesitate. So the most comforting rope bridges included gentle safety features, simple additions that don't eliminate risk completely, but reduce it enough that ordinary life can continue. Tonight we'll rest inside those features. Handrails, side nets, and the quiet design philosophy of making almost falling harmless. Handrails, the rope your nervous system trusts. A handrail rope is not just a physical tool, it's a psychological tool. When your hand touches something steady, your body relaxes, your shoulders drop, your steps become smoother. The bridge can sway, and you still feel guided. Good handrails share a few traits. They sit at a natural height. They remain reachable from the first step to the last. They are tensioned enough not to sag wildly. They are tied with reliable knots that don't creep. Sometimes there are two handrails, one on each side. Sometimes one side is closer to a cliff wall and used as the primary guide. In narrow bridges, one handrail may be enough. Either way, the handrail turns crossing into a calm conversation. Your hand talks to the rope, and the rope answers with firmness. Side nets, not always present, always loved. Not every rope bridge had side nets, but when they existed, they changed everything, especially for children and animals. Side nets can be made from knotted rope mesh, braided plant fiber lattice, woven branches, simple vertical cords spaced close enough to catch a slip. Their main purpose isn't to hold full weight like a wall, it's to prevent a small stumble from becoming a disaster. A net catches your shin or hip and says, "Stop, you're still here." That "still here" feeling is pure calm. The philosophy: prevent the worst, not all movement. Rope bridges are flexible. They can't become rigid like stone, and they don't need to. Instead of fighting motion, builders focused on limiting sideways roll, reducing twisting planks, keeping the deck narrow but stable, providing a handrail and sometimes a net. This is a classic survival design philosophy. You don't need perfection, you need reliability. When the bridge is reliable, people treat it like a road. Children and training, learning the bridge early. In communities that used rope bridges daily, children learned early. They learned how to place feet on slats, how to keep hands on the rail, how to wait their turn, how to keep loads tight to the body, how to stop and let sway settle. Adults often guided them with calm touch. Hold the rope, small steps, look where you place your foot. A child trained on a rope bridge grows up with a nervous system that understands sway as normal. That is quietly powerful. Early training turns fear into routine. Animals, quiet techniques for hooves and nerves. Some rope bridges were crossed by animals, goats, sheep, sometimes pack animals. Not always, but often enough that people developed methods. Lead the calm animal first. Keep rope steady, no shouting. Cover slats with mats if hooves slip. Cross in good weather when possible. Never crowd the bridge with multiple animals in panic. Sometimes animals were moved one by one. Sometimes loads were sent separately by line or pulley, so animals carried less. The goal was to keep the bridge from feeling like a fight. The feeling of almost falling. Here's the gentle thing. On a well-designed bridge, you can wobble and still be safe. You might slip slightly, then your handrail stops you, or your hip meets the net, or your foot catches the next slat. That forgiveness reduces fear before it even starts. When the mind knows I won't die from a small mistake, it relaxes, and relaxed bodies cross better. A sleep lesson. Give your mind a handrail. Now let's borrow the bridge lesson for bedtime. Your mind may wobble at night. Thoughts may slide. Feelings may lean too far. So give yourself a handrail. Slow breathing, a simple repeating phrase, soft music or steady fan noise, the rhythm of this story, the sensation of blanket weight. And if you almost fall into anxiety, let the handrail catch you. Let the net hold you. You don't have to cross perfectly. You only have to cross safely. A sleepy ending scene. Imagine the bridge at twilight. A handrail rope runs along both sides. A simple net hangs below it, knotted and strong enough to catch a stumble. The deck slats are narrow but steady. A person steps on, holding the rope lightly, not gripping in panic, just resting their hand there like a reassurance. The bridge sways. They sway with it. Halfway across, their foot slips a fraction on damp wood. Instantly, the handrail takes a little weight. The net brushes their knee. They stop, breathe, and continue. No fear surge, no drama, just quiet safety. And tonight, that's what we want for you. If your thoughts wobble, it's okay. Hold the rail, your breath. Let the net, your routines, catch you. Then cross gently into sleep.
Sometimes a valley gives you perfect anchor points. Boulders, thick trees, solid rock. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the riverbank is bare, the trees are young, the stones are too small, the soil is soft. And still people need to cross. That's when the bridge becomes quieter and cleverer. Instead of tying rope to something above ground, you bury the anchor.
This is the calm genius of the deadman anchor, a hidden log or stone buried in the earth that holds tension without showing itself. The ground becomes part of the bridge. The landscape becomes the knot. Tonight we'll lay this hidden anchor slowly, like tucking something important into bed. What a deadman anchor is. A deadman anchor is usually a strong object, often a log, sometimes a thick pole, sometimes a stone, buried horizontally in a trench with the rope attached to it and let out through the soil. When the rope pulls, the buried object resists by engaging a large mass of earth. It doesn't need to be visible. It only needs to be deep enough and wide enough that the soil can't easily shift. It's a simple idea. If you can't find a rock to tie to, make the earth your rock. Why it works. The strength of a deadman anchor comes from friction and mass. The rope pulls on the buried log. The log pushes against compacted soil. The soil pushes back with the weight of the ground itself. The more earth engaged, the more holding power you get, especially if the trench is shaped well and the soil is packed firmly. This is the kind of engineering people learned by watching what happens when you pull a stake out of sand versus out of packed earth. The quiet work of digging. Building a deadman anchor isn't loud hero work, it's repetitive. Choose a spot set back from the river edge. Dig a trench wide enough for the log. Choose a log thick and sound, not rotted. Attach rope with secure wraps. Seat the log in the trench. Backfill with soil and stones. Pack it down carefully. Packing matters. Loose soil is weak soil. Packed soil becomes a calm wall. People used feet, wooden tampers, stones, whatever made the ground firm again. The exit rope, preventing cut and creep. The rope must leave the ground without being damaged. If the rope rubs sharply against rock, it frays. If it bends too sharply at the soil edge, it wears. So builders often shaped the exit. A smooth channel, a protective stone or wood guide, padding with bark or cloth in some contexts, careful angle so rope doesn't saw into the earth. A rope bridge fails slowly when friction eats the rope. So the deadman anchor includes a quiet kindness, letting rope move without injury. Testing. Pull, listen, wait. After building, you don't trust instantly. You test. You pull the rope. You watch the ground. You feel for movement. You listen for shifting. A good deadman anchor does not speak. It doesn't creak. It doesn't settle suddenly. It holds silently. Sometimes people left it under tension for a while and checked again later, because earth can settle after disturbance. This slow testing is part of rope bridge culture. Nothing dramatic, just steady proof. Maintenance. The hidden thing still needs care. Even a buried anchor isn't forever. Heavy rain can soften soil. Floodwater can undercut ground. Freeze-thaw cycles can loosen packed earth. So communities checked. Ground cracks near the anchor, sinking depressions, rope tension changes, unusual sway on the bridge. If the anchor zone looks disturbed, they repack it, add stones, move tension slightly, or rebuild. This is the quiet reality. Rope bridges are living structures, maintained like roofs and paths. A sleep lesson. Hidden support holds best. Deadman anchors offer a gentle bedtime metaphor. Sometimes the strongest support in life is hidden. Routines you don't notice until you skip them. A friend who quietly shows up. A habit of drinking water, eating, resting. A breath you return to without thinking. These are buried anchors. They don't announce themselves. They just hold you when tension comes. So tonight, you don't need to display strength loudly. You can rely on quiet, buried strength. Simple, steady, unseen. A sleepy ending scene. Picture a riverbank in late afternoon. Two people dig in soft earth away from the water's edge. They lower a thick log into the trench. Rope wraps are checked. The log is covered again. Soil is packed down with careful feet. When they finish, nothing looks dramatic. The earth looks normal again, just a patch of ground and grass. But now, beneath it, something strong is holding. They pull the rope once. The bridge line tightens. The ground does not move. They nod. Quiet satisfaction. And tonight, you can take that feeling into sleep. Your day's tension can pull. Your thoughts can tug. But beneath it all, you have hidden support. Breath, bed, darkness, rest. The ground holds. The anchor holds. You can let go.
Before rope is twisted, before anchors are dug, before the first plank is lashed into place, there is a quieter step than all the rest, choosing where to cross. A rope bridge is not only a structure, it is a decision about the river, about its moods, its floods, its stones, its banks, and the way it speaks in different seasons. Tonight, we'll walk beside the water and listen for the best crossing place, the way old communities did, slowly, by observation, by patience, by noticing what stays steady. Narrow is not always best. The first instinct is to choose the narrowest point, less span, less rope, less sag. But rivers can trick you. A narrow pinch point might be faster current, deeper channel, more scouring under flood, unstable banks that crumble, wind funneling through a tight gorge. So builders looked for something calmer than narrow. They looked for stable. Stable banks, the real foundation. A rope bridge depends on anchors, and anchors depend on ground. So people preferred banks that were rocky rather than sandy, high enough to avoid frequent flood damage, not actively eroding, not made of loose gravel that slides under tension. Sometimes the best place was where bedrock showed itself, where the earth wasn't soft, where it felt like the river had already finished arguing with the land. Natural anchor points. Old builders loved natural anchors because they reduce labor and increase reliability. They chose crossing points with large boulders set back from the edge, thick, mature trees with deep roots, rock outcrops with holes or notches, cliff faces where ropes could be seated in carved channels. If you have good anchors, the bridge becomes simpler. If you don't, you must create anchors, and that takes time and strength. So often, the river itself offers a crossing place by providing anchor features on both sides. Reading flood marks. Even if the river looks calm today, people asked, what does it do when it's angry? Flood marks tell stories. Debris caught in branches higher up, smooth, scoured stones, lines of dark silt on rock, bent grasses pointing downstream, driftwood piles in certain corners. These signs help decide how high to place the bridge and how far back to anchor it. A bridge built too low gets taken.
A bridge built too high is harder to approach, so the crossing point must allow a sensible height. Sound and mist, signs of speed. A river's sound changes with its behavior. A deep, steady hush often means broad flow. A loud chattering can mean shallow stones. A roar can mean a drop or narrowed channel. Builders listened. They also watched mist and spray. A crossing point that constantly throws wet mist onto ropes may rot fiber faster. A calm stretch with less spray is kinder to materials. Seasonal access. The path matters too. A bridge is useless if you can't reach it easily, so people considered the approaches. Can carts reach it? Can animals climb the bank? Does snow drift there in winter? Does mud swallow feet in spring? Is there a safe waiting area? Often, the best crossing point is where existing paths already meet the river naturally. The bridge simply completes a conversation the land has already started. A sleep lesson. Pick the calm crossing in your mind. This part is quietly important for sleep. Before you build anything tonight, before you try to solve, plan, fix, choose your crossing point. Where is the calm part of your mind? Where is the stable bank? Where can you place your attention without it crumbling? For most people, it's the breath. It's the simple sensation of air moving in and out. That is your rock bank. That is your anchor. A sleepy ending scene. Now imagine a small group walking along a river at sunset. They stop in a few places. They look down. They listen. They test the ground with a stick. They watch how the current pulls around stones. They notice driftwood caught high in branches. They don't rush. Finally, they find it. 2 stable banks, solid anchors, a calm stretch, a natural approach path, a place where the river feels predictable. They stand quietly, satisfied. No cheering, just a shared sense. This will work. And tonight, you can do the same. Choose the stable bank. Choose the calm breath. Then, slowly, you can cross from day into sleep.
A rope bridge moves. That's not a flaw. That's its nature. Wooden bridges try to be stiff. Stone bridges try to be permanent. Rope bridges are different. They survive by being flexible. They accept motion the way a tree accepts wind, by bending rather than breaking. Tonight, we'll learn the quiet skill that makes rope bridges feel safe, moving with the sway instead of fighting it. The bridge has a rhythm, and when you match it, fear gets smaller. Why rope bridges sway? Rope stretches slightly under weight. Deck slats shift a little. Anchors hold, but the suspended span behaves like a long hanging line. Wind can push it sideways. A person stepping can set it rocking. This isn't instability in the dangerous sense. It's a predictable physics, like a hammock. A hammock moves when you get in, but once you settle, it holds you. A rope bridge is a hammock you walk across, one careful step at a time. The first step, letting the bridge introduce itself. The first step is where fear often spikes because the bridge responds immediately. So experienced travelers do something simple. They step on and pause. They let the bridge settle under their weight. They feel the tension. They listen for strange creaks. They place a hand on the rail rope and let the sway become familiar. That pause is not weakness, it's wisdom. It turns surprise into information. The calm rule: don't fight the sway. If you stiffen your legs and try to hold still, the bridge feels worse.
Your center of mass becomes rigid, and every small movement feels like a threat. But if you soften slightly, knees relaxed, shoulders down, you can absorb motion. The sway becomes a slow wave, not a sudden shove. So the calm body rule is bend a little, breathe slowly, keep the load close, move in rhythm. It's the same posture people use on boats. The goal is not to dominate motion, but to cooperate with it. Wind and the handrail rope. Wind makes bridges talk louder. A gust pushes the span sideways. The handrail rope becomes your calm companion. You don't yank it. You rest your hand on it and let it guide you. In strong wind, people often angle their body slightly into the gust, reduce step size, keep 3 points of contact when possible, 2 feet and a hand. Wait for gusts to pass rather than racing through them. The bridge is not a test of speed, it's a test of patience. One at a time, social etiquette for sway. Many communities developed a simple rule: don't crowd the bridge. If 2 people move out of sync, the bridge can rock unpredictably. So travelers often crossed one at a time, or in a calm, spaced rhythm. This is why rope bridge culture often feels polite. Wait your turn, don't bounce, don't run, don't shout, keep animals calm. The quietness isn't only mood, it's safety. Night and fog, trusting your hands. In low light, the mind can panic because vision is limited. So rope bridge travelers leaned more on touch. Hand sliding along the rail rope, foot feeling the slat edge before full weight, pausing at mid-span to let the sway settle. Touch is slower than sight, and slower is safer. A sleep lesson hidden in sway. Now, here's why this belongs in a sleep story. A rope bridge teaches you that movement doesn't always mean danger. Your mind can sway at night. Thoughts can move like wind. Feelings can wobble like a hanging span. But if you soften and breathe, you can cross without panic. You don't have to stop the sway. You only have to move with it. Let the bridge breathe. Let your breath be the handrail. Step by step, you reach the far bank. A sleepy ending scene. Picture the bridge at dusk. The river below is darkening. The air is cool. A soft wind moves through trees. The bridge sways gently even before you step on it, like it is already breathing. You place your hand on the rail rope. Step on to the first slat. Pause. The bridge shifts, then settles. You take another step. Your knees remain soft. The sway becomes familiar. It's not trying to throw you. It's simply moving as it was designed to move. Halfway across, the wind rises slightly, then fades. The bridge rocks once, then returns to its slow rhythm. You continue. Step, breathe. Step, breathe. And when your foot reaches the far bank, the sway stops mattering. Solid ground returns. You loosen your hand from the rope. No hero moment, no panic, just a calm crossing completed. And tonight, you can do the same. Cross from busy day to quiet sleep, holding your breath like a handrail, letting thoughts sway without fighting them.
A rope bridge can be strong, with perfect anchors and good knots, and still feel frightening if your feet don't trust it, because fear often begins at the soles. If footing is slippery, the mind tightens. If a plank tilts unexpectedly, the stomach drops. If gaps feel too wide, you step too carefully, and the careful stepping becomes awkward. So tonight we'll focus on the part that turns a rope bridge from possible into ordinary, the plank path, the walking surface, the quiet design choices that make each step predictable. Why predictable is the real luxury. People sometimes imagine that old bridges aimed for comfort. Usually they aimed for something simpler, predictability. A predictable surface means you can carry loads, you can guide animals, you can cross in fog or low light, you can cross without turning every step into a calculation. Predictability makes the bridge silent in the mind, and when the mind is silent, the body moves better. Slats, planks, and spacing. Many rope bridges use slats rather than continuous planks. Slats are easier to replace, and spacing between them lets water drain, snow fall through, and mud drop away. The spacing is a quiet compromise. Too wide and feet feel insecure. Too tight and water pools and rots the wood. Just right and the bridge stays drier and safer. Over time, communities learned their spacing, the one that matches their shoes, their loads, their weather. Keeping planks from twisting. A plank that spins underfoot is the quickest way to make people panic, so builders used simple anti-twist methods. Lash each plank to 2 ropes instead of 1. Add side rails that stabilize the deck. Tie slats with consistent tension so they behave as a group. Use a narrow spine pole under the deck in some designs. The aim is to make the deck behave like a single path, not a chain of separate surprises. The first and last steps. Oddly, the most dangerous steps on many rope bridges are not in the middle. They're at the ends, where the bridge meets land. That transition can be awkward, a height difference between bank and deck, slippery stones at the landing, a step up or step down that shifts weight suddenly. So many bridges had careful end features, a flat landing board, stones arranged as a stable step, a short ramp of packed earth, an anchor post positioned so handrails are reachable immediately. These details reduce the threshold fear that hits at the beginning. Wet wood and quiet grip. In rainy climates, the deck becomes a water problem, so people added texture, rough-hewn wood rather than polished, shallow grooves cut into wood, cross-hatched scoring, sand or grit rubbed into surfaces in some places, sometimes woven mats laid temporarily for extra grip. Even a little texture changes the whole mood of crossing. The foot trusts, the body relaxes. Load balance on the plank path. If you carry a swinging load, the bridge feels more unstable, so travelers learn to pack in a way that makes the plank path calmer. Loads tight to the back, baskets balanced across shoulders, containers tied so they don't sway, animals guided slowly so hooves place carefully. A calm load makes a calm bridge. A sleepy ending scene. Now imagine a quiet morning crossing. The river is below, moving steadily. Mist hangs low. The bridge deck, simple wooden slats, looks damp but stable. You place your hand on the rail rope. Step. The slat holds. It doesn't twist. The spacing feels familiar. Step. The deck gives a gentle sway, like a slow breath, and you match it without fighting. Each footfall is quiet. The bridge doesn't complain. Halfway across, you stop thinking about the bridge. That is the sign of good design. It disappears into routine. And tonight, that's what we want for your mind. A path that holds you, a rail you can touch, your breath. Steps that don't surprise you, slow, steady exhale.
Then you cross gently into sleep.
A rope bridge looks like a single object from far away, two banks connected by a line. But up close, it's a conversation made of small decisions. And most of those decisions are knots. Tonight we'll slow down and watch the knot language that kept rope bridges safe. Not fancy sailor tricks, not complicated mathematics, just repeatable ties that ordinary people could trust in wind, rain, and time. Why knots matter more than rope? A rope can be strong and still fail if it's tied badly. A bad knot slips. A bad knot crushes fibers and weakens them. A bad knot jams so hard it can't be inspected or adjusted. So communities learned a few reliable ties and used them again and again, the way people reuse good words. You don't need 100 knots, you need a handful you can do well, even in cold hands. The fixed loop knot, the quiet anchor friend. One of the most common needs is a loop that doesn't tighten like a noose. You want a loop you can place around a post, through a rock hole, or around a boulder, then load it without it collapsing or biting itself. Fixed loops create calm because they behave predictably. They don't change shape under tension. They don't creep forward slowly. They sit where you set them. Even if different cultures used different exact knots, the idea is universal. Stable loops make stable anchors. Lashings, turning wood into structure. Rope bridges often use wooden parts, planks, slats, side poles, or cross pieces. But wood moves and shrinks. It gets wet. It dries. It flexes. Nails rust. Pegs loosen. So rope lashings become the quiet structural solution. Wrap, cross, tighten, tuck, repeat. A good lashing distributes force across many turns of rope instead of concentrating it on one point. That spreads stress and makes failures less sudden. And lashings can be repaired without heavy tools. If one section loosens, you retighten it. If one cord frays, you replace only that piece. That repairability is one of the most comforting features of rope technology. It doesn't demand perfection, just attention. Tension knots, making rope act like a beam. The main ropes of a rope bridge need tension. Without tension, the bridge sags too deeply and becomes exhausting or dangerous. So people used knot systems that allow tightening. Wraps around a post, wedges in carved holes, multiple turns to increase friction, finishing ties that lock the tension in place. They didn't talk about mechanical advantage, they talked about taking up slack and making it sing. Because a properly tensioned rope often has a sound when plucked, a deep, firm note. That note becomes part of inspection culture. Inspection with touch and sound. Old bridge builders and users often inspected with senses. Run your hand along the rope and feel roughness. Squeeze and feel for soft, rotten fiber. Listen for creaks at anchor points. Watch how the bridge settles under the first cautious step. This is quiet engineering, not paperwork, just attention. And because the bridge is used daily, many people become informal inspectors. Everyone knows what normal looks like, so changes stand out. Weather knots. Wet rope, dry rope, cold rope. Rope behaves differently when wet. Some fibers swell and tighten. Others become slippery. Cold can make rope stiff. Sun can weaken fibers over time. So knot choices often reflect local weather experience. A knot that holds fine in dry conditions might slip in rain. A knot that is easy to untie in summer might jam in winter. Communities learn to choose knots that match their climate and to retighten after weather shifts. This is why rope bridges are rarely build once and forget. They are living infrastructure.
maintained like gardens or roofs. A sleepy ending scene. Now imagine an evening beside a rope bridge. The day's crossings are done. The river is lower and calmer. Two people stand by the anchor post. They don't talk loudly. They don't rush. One kneels to check a knot. Fingers press the rope, feeling for wear. The other pulls gently to test tension. The rope answers with a steady resistance. No slip, no sudden give. They retighten one lashing. They tuck the end neatly. Then they step back. The bridge is ready for tomorrow. And your mind can be ready too, not by tightening everything to pain, but by checking a few simple things gently and then letting them hold. Hold your breath like a stable loop. Let your thoughts settle like a lashing. Tighten nothing too hard, just enough.